Welcome to the Decode Fintech Podcast, brought to you by Paystack. I'm your host, Khadija, product lead at Paystack. The Decode Fintech Podcast is where people building Africa's financial infrastructure share what they're seeing on the front lines. It's everything from what's working to what's not and what's coming up next. In each episode, an operator shares insights on how they're handling everything from product development to marketing in some of the world's fastest changing business environments. Today, I speak with Yemi Atanda, the group head of ePayments at Guaranty Trust Bank, about GTB 737, their wildly successful USSD service. Yemi shares with us the origin of 737, from how they selected the specific numbers 737 to the catchy radio jingle and even the branded hand fans that have helped introduce the financial product to everyday Nigerians. Now, let's head over to Yemi. Hi, Yemi.
Hi, Khadija. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
And thank you for, gracing us with your presence.
I'm highly honored.
All right. Jumping right in and starting with you as a person. Digital banking, right? How did that happen? How did you even start your career in banking in Nigeria?
Let me start by saying that I have a background in engineering. It's so amazing when I think of the journey myself.
Wow.
A background in mechanical engineering,
Wow.
actually. So that's so very, very far away from computing, from digital and all of that. But right from school, I've always had a lot of interest in computers and what you can do with them. And that influenced even the projects that I did in school. And right after, I would say I've never really practiced mechanical engineering for one day. I've always been in the computing, e-business, digital banking space. That dates back to almost 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've done all sorts in that space, right from the pioneer internet banking platform in Nigeria to the closest form of mobile banking. I mean, even right before the likes of M-Pesa started in Kenya. So we've always tried to do something here. I think my first job in banking, it's in the bank that is defunct right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't mention names. Yeah, but I mean, we did quite a number of things in that space. I don't know if anybody knows about Flash Pay Cash.
Not to betray my age or anything, but yeah.
So Flash Pay Cash, I was one of the pioneering team that started that in the country at that time. And I think that was the very first attempt at mobile banking, at mobile money, at some kind of wallet in Nigeria. And from there, I've done, even across banking, beyond banking, I've done payment processing in some other organizations. And here I am today, GT Bank. Right.
So for GT Bank specifically, how long have you been here for?
I think I've been here for, to make it sound like a long time, I've been here for a little above half a decade.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
So that's just to make it sound long. It's not been too long, just about 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And in that time, somehow, the bank has managed to build one of the biggest USSD platforms in Nigeria. So 737, as it were, is pretty much a household name for anybody that carries out any form of digital banking services.
Yeah.
For the purpose of the people listening in, could you just tell us what is USSD and how did 737 become a thing?
Okay, so I'll step back again because it's always good to put it in context.
Okay.
Yeah, 737 did not happen by accident. It's a product of several steps and iterations that led to that. In fact, several learnings actually. Because we started first and foremost by looking at how do we digitize payments in Nigeria. I think sometimes around 7 to 8 years ago, the CBN released the first set of mobile money licenses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for us as a bank, we decided to go into mobile money from an app-based perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at that time, there are a number of smartphones, and we felt that the smartphones will give a richer experience, if you can call it that. So we developed the mobile money application. But Nigerians, being what we are, we're always very different about the way we look at things. So the average Nigerian is not thinking of having a wallet.
Right.
But is thinking of having a proper account. So it doesn't want to have an account somewhere and then now move money from the account to a wallet before he can do all the things he wants. They want to spend directly from his account.
Yes, yes.
So we learned that lesson, and so we moved from just having a basic mobile money application to having an application that would double both for mobile money and also for mobile banking.
I see.
Difference being that mobile banking allows you to interact with your account on a mobile phone using an app. Yeah. So we had an app that had two sides to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we learned very quickly that we're actually cutting out a lot of Nigerians by limiting ourselves to smartphones, limiting ourselves to apps.
Yes.
And we asked ourselves, what is it that is common to all Nigerians? All of us have mobile phones, and we have to keep that mobile phone alive for one reason or the other. So the only way to keep it alive is to buy a scratch card or buy some kind of printed voucher and key in a code. So how can we take that behavior and replicate it in the financial sector? So we thought of applying for a USSD code from the NCC.
Okay.
It's a laborious process. I mean, it still is something now, but I mean, it's okay because according to NCC, USSD codes are actually national assets. So you cannot be irresponsible with the way you use it out.
Yes.
By the way, USSD is unstructured supplementary service data. So we approached NCC and we got this USSD code 737 through a series of iterations. 247 was one of the ones we wanted. Because 247 is easy to remember. Yeah. Wanted 707. Wanted 007.
Yeah, like James Bond.
Yeah.
Right?
We wanted this kind of numbers that people could relate to. We wanted 635.
Wow.
Because that's our head office.
Exactly.
We wanted 365. But for one reason or the other, we couldn't get any of those. And the closest we got was 737. So the journey started. First thing is, how do we get customers to change their behavior? Now you're asking them to use USSD for banking.
Yes.
Not for loading their phone.
Exactly.
Yeah. The first thing we did was to develop an avenue for them to use that code to top up their phone.
So replicating the same airtime model?
Exactly. So instead of buying a code and typing star 555 star that code hash, just do star 737 star the amount you want hash.
And the airtime will get to your
phone. And the airtime
phone.
gets to your phone. So the phone that is initiating the transaction.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we experimented with that around H1 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, H1 2014. And it was explosive. It was an instant success. In the first month, I think we sold, in that first month, more than what we had sold for the whole of the year on the other platform.
Wow.
In 30 days. So that encouraged us to
That
move
is
forward.
amazing.
And we took it one step further. In the midst of all of this, I think one major thing to learn is that you have to put the customer at the center of every design that you do. Yeah, you have to think of the customer first. How will the customer perceive it, and how are we going to be able to communicate it very easily to the customer? So it was easy to communicate to them to use it to top up their phone. So the next level is to teach them how to use it to top up for somebody else.
Someone else's phone.
So, and that's how we came to experiment with third-party airtime purchase towards the end of 2014. It's a journey. Yeah. So the whole of 2014 was all of that experiment. Yeah. Moving into 2015, people had gotten more comfortable with it. We had taught them how to also authenticate the transaction. At that time, don't laugh at this, with the last 4 digits of their card, because that was very, very open. But again, the question is, what is it that everybody will remember?
Okay.
They had a debit card. They already used a debit card on the ATM and on the POS. So it's easy for us to say, use something that's on your debit card. 6 digits is too long for the average Nigerian. Yeah. So we said, use last 4 digits.
Of the card number?
Of the card number,
okay.
The debit card.
Okay.
Now, in retrospect, I mean, that wasn't a smart thing to do, but it was the easiest way to also get customers in. So 2015, we experimented with, okay, so now we can use it to buy airtime. Can we actually use it to move money from one account
to the other?
To another.
That's where it starts getting tricky.
Exactly, yeah. So, again, another long string, star 737, star whatever, star the amount, star
The account number of the person you want to send it to.
Yes. Actually, we asked ourselves, how do people think? I think I want to send 5,000 naira to Khadija. Not I want to send Khadija 5,000 naira. Something as simple as that. So, and that's what informed the sequence. I want to send this amount to this account number. So, in order to make our customers feel very happy, we split GT bank transfers from other bank transfers.
Okay.
So, star 727 star 1, star 500, star GT bank account number. And just goes directly to the account. For other banks, star 727 star 2, star that other bank account number.
Okay.
And now shows you a list of banks.
Right.
So for other banks, you take one extra step.
Yes.
But for our customers, because we love them so much, so we have to shorten the journey for them.
Of course, nothing to do with technology.
Exactly, yeah. So, and you see really, most of the things that has to do with product development are soft issues. And that's where a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. You don't think of technology first, you think of the customer first.
Right.
You think what is best for the customer,
I see.
and not really what is best for you. So you put yourself in the position of the customer. So that's our journey. And the rest of it is story today.
So you would say that the actual launch of 737 was in 2014?
Yes, it was.
It hasn't been that long.
It was, yeah.
It seems like it's been around forever. I feel like I grew up with 737.
It's actually sometimes 2014. We got the codes late 2013.
Okay.
So all the works and all of that led us to this.
Now, just listening to the journey of how this solution has gone through several iterations and evolved towards what it is today, I'm curious as to the science behind it, or the technology, if you will. Was there like a model that you applied in thinking? You know how people use design thinking methodology or standard agile processes or whatnot, or some fancy technology that you had to purchase to make this all possible? So like, what was that? You know when you say behind the scenes?
Yeah.
What does behind the scenes look like?
Okay. For us in digital banking, ePayments, I mean, that's the aspect of digital banking that we work in. Innovation is almost spontaneous for us. The model we use is the human-centered design approach.
Right.
Because right about that time, we got an award from a donor body that allowed us to work with some companies that have used HCD before. So based on that, it made the journey a little bit easier for us. Yeah, so it's human-centered design, essentially.
That's very helpful to hear. And like, was most of the actual implementation done in-house, or did you have to contract like some external engineering teams to build out the solution?
The core of it is in-house.
Okay.
Of course, because it's a telco-based solution, you need to collaborate with people in that space. Yeah. So we have our technical partners that are used to how telcos work, but the core of the engine is built in-house.
Internally. Okay, that's good to hear. And then I know that, so from what you've said, started out with airtime purchases, moved to transfers, and now there's like a gazillion and one things that, you can use 737 for.
Yeah.
But what's like what's like the biggest service that people still use it for?
Okay. You can guess.
Airtime.
Of course. It's our life.
Wow.
Airtime is our life in all shapes and forms and formats.
I know, right?
Airtime, data, that's it really, basically, because you can do without transferring money.
Exactly. Especially if you don't have money.
But you cannot do without
Airtime.
using your phone. And for as long as the phone is talking, someone is buying airtime.
Right.
So it's airtime.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And like, so when you look at your airtime business or everything generally, how do you define the critical success factor in terms of metrics? So how do you say, oh, we're doing really well or we're not doing really well? Is it how much airtime you sell? Is it the number of users? Just, some stats that you track and hopefully can share with us.
Okay. I'll start by saying that we don't see ourselves as doing well.
Oh, wow.
Because there's so much headroom. So much headroom. In fact, we literally flog ourselves every day to say, what else can we do to get customers on this journey? Unconfirmed stats I think that the average monthly airtime sales across this industry will be in the neighborhood of 150 to 250 billion across all the networks, unconfirmed. But of all of that, I'm not sure that we're doing more than 10 to 15% as VTU, as the whole industry, beyond even the bank.
Yeah, a lot of it is still with scratch cards.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
things like that, yeah.
So people tell me that I don't see umbrellas on the road again. I don't see the malams that sell. But in reality, when you leave Lagos,
Exactly, yeah.
that's still what happens. But when you leave the center of Lagos, that's still what happens. So the question we keep asking ourselves every day is, how do we
Grow that
fill
number.
this end row? But to measure anything, I'm sure that customer adoption is the best way to measure yourself, really. How many customers actually using this service? And when we look at these numbers, it's still nothing compared to what we can do.
Wow.
It's nothing. It's a very tiny fraction.
Is it a fraction you're willing to share?
No, I'm not at liberty to share. But I mean, that's a very, very, you can take it from me that it's a very small fraction.
That's compared to the overall account base.
Exactly.
This is even within the bank itself.
Yes.
I
And
see.
even beyond that, compared to the number of users
Exactly.
in the country as
I
a whole,
see,
it's
I
a
see.
very, very small fraction.
I see.
And I think that's a work that is cut out for all fintechs, all banks,
Yeah.
all mobile money operators. We have to figure out how to include more people. Because financial inclusion is one level,
Yeah.
then digital financial inclusion is another level.
Another one.
And we should not think of the two of them in isolation. Then the complete journey is to think of financial inclusion from a digital financial inclusion perspective.
Right?
But that's the only way you can reach the last mile very quickly.
Wow. This is very insightful. Thank you. Thanks for that. Hi there. This is Khadija. We'll head back to our guest in a second, but I wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about what we do at Paystack. Paystack powers payments and growth for high-performing businesses and fintechs in Africa. Businesses such as Rent Money. You know those moments when you need a quick helping hand to cover a personal or even business expense? With Rent Money, you can have easy access to up to 4 million naira in 24 hours without collateral and even as a first-time borrower. Rent Money has a strong track record in the lending industry, giving out over 200,000 loans and counting to both businesses and individuals. Visit paystack.com/rentmoney to learn more. Once again, that is paystack.com/rentmoney. And now, back to the show. When you look at 737 and harmonize that with the bank's objective, who do you see as the typical persona that you should target for this service?
Okay, that's a tricky one because we set out to say that USSD will only be used by people that are not very literate, barely numerate, and not in the cities. But what we have seen is that USSD is being used by everybody.
Yeah.
I use a smartphone, and I know that I do more of USSD on my smartphone than a mobile app.
It's just way simpler.
Yeah, because it's almost intuitive.
Exactly.
It's intuitive. In fact, what we now discovered was that more of the sophisticated people were taken to USSD
Than the on the bank.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
But I think it's also a matter of positioning, really. So as we go through the journey of financial inclusion and position it rightly, we'll see more people from that bottom of the pyramid
Taken to it.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. And I think so. You know that 737 song that was like a jam?
Yeah,
I'm sure people
it was
had
a
it on
party
their
song.
phones. Who came up with that? What was the inspiration behind that song?
You see, the beautiful thing about GT Bank is that when we decide to do something, everybody just goes after it. I mean, the entire bank just go after it from every part of the bank. Now, it will interest you to know that the executive director of that song is my MD himself.
Oh, wow.
Because, he is a very passionate person about this, about everything he does, really. And he literally engineered and unpicked virtually everybody that cast that song, alongside with our communication team.
as well.
Yeah,
right?
so it's a team effort that's led by
The MD himself.
yeah.
Interesting.
So you can imagine why it's such a success.
So it's safe to say that your MD doubles as your chief marketing officer.
It's everything. It's everything from chief digital officer to chief marketing officer to it's everything.
Wow.
It's an amazing guy.
And how do you guys deal with, the approach that is most relevant to marketing this service to the target demography, which in this case, like you've said, was primarily assumed to be, the underbanked or financially underserved, but has now turned out to be something that pretty much everybody uses. What's that? How do you guys think about marketing from that perspective?
Okay, yeah. You will have been seeing some of our collaterals around.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and that can also give you an idea of how we think about this. It's a product that is meant to be a utility, like a fast-moving consumer good.
Yeah.
And so it had to be marketed that way. The way you market, I don't want to mention brands here. I mean, the daily needs that we use.
Yes.
So that's what informed marketing into with the hand fan.
Yeah.
A very popular hand fan.
Yeah,
Must have
especially
seen it
at
around,
the what's it called? The food festival.
Every gathering where where you see people,
Yeah.
you literally see the hand fan there.
Yeah, that is true.
So for us, that's a utility that is relevant in this part of the world.
Exactly.
Gives you a lot of surface area to write a lot of things. So those kind of creative ways that will get to the customer very directly. Because you're actually trying to change the voice of a nation.
Exactly.
Literally. So you have to be as close to them as possible, as detailed as possible. Yeah.
I can definitely see aspects of like human-centered design, even the way you approach marketing.
Yes.
Just like bringing it close to the people. Like, what would you use anyway? Use the same thing, but from 737.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting. And then I know that Nigerians are very security conscious. I mean, we're reading the news which day about how a lady held the entire bank branch to ransom because some of her money had gone missing.
Yeah.
What sort of security measures do you have in place to, I guess, mitigate fraud?
Okay.
As you think about scaling this service across even more people?
Okay. So the 7% platform is built on the backbone of our security architecture as a whole. I mean, we're a very security conscious organization because of the kind of giant leaps we take in digital banking. So that has made us invest a lot in that, right from people to technology to approaches and processes. Yeah. So 7% is built on top of all of that. But in very specific terms, the CBN has also been very helpful in showing direction in terms of the minimum expected security level that you can have for this service. So it's actually at the core of it is a two-factor authentication platform.
Okay.
Yeah. Because a combination of what you have,
which is your phone.
Yeah, which is your phone, your SIM actually. And what you know, which is your PIN.
The PIN.
Yeah.
Right.
So and anywhere in the world, that's a minimum standard expected for security. Yeah. So 7% meets that standard. And that's what gives us a lot of confidence to also tell more people about it, put more services on it.
Exactly.
Really, yeah. We manage the rest with limits and all of that. So it's
interesting.
Yeah.
Is 737 in existence outside of Nigeria? And if no, are you thinking about doing that?
Okay. Yeah. So what we do in Nigeria, we also try to achieve in other countries, depending on the regulations in that country.
Of course.
Yeah. I know because of the nature of the service, it cuts across two major industries, the telco and banking. So everywhere you go, you always need to have the buy-in of the regulators of the telcos and the regulators of banking.
Correct.
In those countries. So directly to your question, yes, we do have it in one form or variant in some of our other subsidiaries outside of here. The places where we don't have it, we are still engaging with the relevant authorities. We believe that the demographics of Nigeria is typical of the rest of Africa. Yeah. And the way to reach Africa very quickly is through the mobile, as basically as possible. Yeah.
That's good to hear. I was just going to say that it's been said that a lot of countries on the continent are so fragmented that there are entirely different sets of rules operational in each of those countries. So where Nigeria has like ABC, you move across the border and it's XYZ. So replicating some of these services are not as straightforward.
Yes.
But like you've said, you're spending lots of time and energy on those engagements that are relevant to make it a reality,
Yes,
which is good to hear. Just a couple more questions. In rolling out this service, right, what sort of trends have you observed in terms of the behavior of your customer base? So thinking about a time when there was no USSD banking,
Yes.
and then comparing that with now, where everybody just like buys their time and sends money with 737.
Yeah.
What are some insightful or surprising, if you will, patterns of behavior that you've observed?
Some individuals will buy 100 naira hair time 3 times a day.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
In the days of scratch card, I know that wasn't the behavior. You had to make up your mind how much you want to spend in a day and then go out one time and buy it.
Wow.
But because you know you have access,
Yeah.
and you can get it in the night, you can get it during the day, you can get it on a public holiday.
Exactly.
So instead of putting all your money on hair time, you buy just in time. And that's a behavior that we find very, 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 very interesting, really. That's what people just need is access, really, simplicity.
Yes.
And more money will stay in the bank
That is true.
if you give people access to it. I mean, what's the reverse thinking is to say, if you give people access to picking their funds out of the bank, then they'll just come and take it out. But that's not true. They only feel safe when their money is there. What makes them take it out is when they feel that at the time they need it, they won't have access to it. So if you give them access to it, the money is just going to be there. So that's one of the very interesting things we've learned in this journey.
So it comes down to trust. If I trust you to help me achieve what I'm trying to achieve at the time I need to, then it's okay.
I'll trust you with my life.
But if not, I'm just going to take my money and keep you under my bed.
That's it.
Interesting. And then how do you see the evolution of 737 over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years?
Do you want an honest answer?
Yes. Please.
I think USSD is not going to be here forever. That's the sad truth. It's not going to be here forever.
Interesting.
At least not in this shape and form that we see it today.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the second-hand market for smartphone is very vibrant in Nigeria. The average price of a smartphone is crashing.
Coming down.
I think we did during the Black Friday. We sold some smartphone as low as 5,000 naira.
Wow.
In dollars, that's how much now? That's a little below $20. And that price will still keep coming down. The middle class, or don't let me say the middle class, the younger generation, some of them are just coming out of school. They're picking their first jobs. They're buying smartphones.
Yes, for the first time.
They're asking for a richer experience. USSD gives you reach in terms of breadth. But smart apps give you depth in terms of richness. People are asking for a richer experience. Customers are demanding for more. They're asking for personalized experience. You can't do a lot of that on USSD.
On USSD,
Yeah.
I see.
So it won't have this kind of popularity like this forever.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, but what I can say for sure is that USSD is still going to be the channel for the bottom of the pyramid individual to first experience digital banking. And when it comes in through that angle, it can begin the exploration towards
more sophisticated services.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So as you get more people away from that bottom of the pyramid,
The numbers start to shrink, or at least become diverted into something else.
exactly, yeah. And I think that's a challenge that all of us have really, to quickly bring people in and move them in that direction.
Interesting. Wow. This is insightful. I don't think I've heard it being expressed this way before. There's a lot of, hype, if you will, around USSD, but just understanding that it exists today because it's the easiest way to access these services.
Exactly.
But as human needs evolve, I mean, just like Maslow said, I'm going to want more.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go after more.
Exactly.
And then people that are experimenting for the first time will discover your setting, like, oh, wow, I can do this. While others, just sort of gravitate towards the more personalized services.
Precisely.
Like it.
That's who we are as human beings.
Interesting.
I think the digital banking space in Nigeria is still very young. There's still a lot of room to grow.
Yes.
And it's going to be a series of collaborative efforts.
Definitely.
That will get us there. From a regulatory perspective, from the players themselves. And also, we must be ready to learn a lot from the customer. The customer is the one leading us on this journey. We are not the ones leading the customer.
Exactly.
So, those are things that are very important for us to make a success of digital financial inclusion in Nigeria.
At scale.
At scale, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, wow. So my final question, and this is something that we ask everybody that comes on this show. What is your favorite go-to snack? You know how you're hungry at like 1 a.m.
Wow.
And then you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh my God, I just really have to have this.
Wow.
What's that one thing that when you're sad, when everybody's annoying you in the office, and somebody just presents it to you, you're like, all is well in the world again.
Wow.
Yes.
Now I really have to think. Because I'm not a foodie. I'm not a foodie. Okay.
Is pounded yam a snack?
It's actually a very heavy meal. So
okay.
if I need to snack on anything at all, there's something they call it's a fancy name for something very old.
Okay.
They call it kulichin.
What is that?
Okay. I don't know whether you know kuli.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's a nice way to package it. So I love those kind of natural stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like that, like kuli, like kokoro. Do you know what they call kokoro?
I know kokoro.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Those kind of things.
Where did you get that?
Some guys have actually done a fantastic work of repackaging it. Very awesome job. You will love it.
Reminds me of when I was a child.
Yeah.
Please define kuli for our non-Nigerians.
Okay, so that's a snack that is made out of groundnut. Groundnut that is ground squeezed. You squeeze out the oil.
Exactly.
You fry it a little bit.
Yes. With some spices.
Yes. With some maybe pepper, ginger, garlic.
Now I'm hungry.
You make it into small shapes, either round shapes or flat shapes, and you just package it. That's all. Yeah. and kokoro is made out of maize. It's actually made out of maize. Yeah. Ground, molded, fried
as well.
And very delicious.
Okay, I hope there's some at your desk because we're going back there now.
You just might be lucky.
Thank you so much, Yemi. This was very exciting. Thank you for your time. It's amazing to see all the work that you guys are doing with 737. We're essentially changing behavior, which is the real disruption that everybody talks about. Hopefully we'll get to chat again soon, and then all of us will just continue to experience the service as it is and look forward to that future. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Yay! That brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it on social media with the hashtag Decode Fintech. I'll be keeping an eye out on that hashtag and responding to the most interesting comments and questions. To find out about new episodes, please subscribe to the Decode Fintech email newsletter. Every week, we share a tightly curated debrief of the most important fintech news from around the continent, along with jobs, events, and so much more. To subscribe, kindly visit decodefintech.com. Once again, that's decodefintech.com. Decode Fintech is brought to you by Paystack, the company that helps Africa's most successful fintechs build powerful and scalable financial service products with the industry's best documented APIs. Please visit paystack.com/fintech to find out more. I'm your host, Khadija. Catch you on the next episode, and thank you for listening. And thank you for listening. And thank you for listening. And thank you for listening.